This is Beth Hayes, editing and publishing assistant to Sharon Quinn, and we're back talking about volumes 2 and 3 of her trilogy. Some have asked when those will appear, and she wants to explain them to you.
Thank you, Beth. And I really appreciate that people are already asking about volumes 2 and 3. It's showing that they are seeing value, and they also want to know that whatever they're sinking their teeth into, they're going to be able to get it all, not just a little bit. And I appreciate that. So I want to address those concerns and also let you know about books 2 and 3. So the second book in this series is called Cracking the Code to Your Belief Safe. Change what is possible. Now, what's important about the second book is that we now go back to the life side and we talk about what we are familiar with. Because the first volume gives you the paradigm, talks a little bit about the whole thing in a holism viewpoint. Now we are going to look what we're familiar with, our beliefs, our paradigms, and why we might be afraid to let them go, what they have created, so we can get a realistic way of viewing them and looking at how they would look different through this paradigm. That makes it easier for us to get down and dirty, so to speak, and to get very practical. Because if spiritual life, spiritual understandings, a spiritual paradigm that you live by can't be practical, it really lacks one of its most cogent, most beautiful qualities. Yes? Okay. So the cracking the code to your belief safe really helps us do something that many people talk about, and we'd say get inside that box. We want to break open the box, our comfort zone. So this book will help you examine the current paradigm and how the current paradigm has brought us to the type of world we live in today. We know that this isn't right. We know that this is not a beautiful type thing for our world. There's way too much violence. We have awful things like human trafficking and drug lords and war verging on crazy people, like leaders who can push their finger on a nuclear button and have the whole world a little bit on edge. We have nuclear power plants exploding and polluting our waters, and oh my God, it just goes on and on and on. Now some people would say, oh Sharon, if you're really a great spiritual teacher, you wouldn't be so negative. Well, you know what? This is God's world. This is the divine creator's world. And if you think that for one moment that the divine does not know what's going on and does not want and would deny the truth and would sit there and say, well, I'm not going to acknowledge that's the truth because it's negative, you do not understand what truth means. Truth acknowledges what is. Because until we acknowledge what is, we're not going to take any accountability and responsibility for making the changes we need. We'll keep sitting there under some fantasy idea that somehow some magic wand from the universe is going to just poof and make it go away. Or we'll swing the pendulum the other way and we'll say, you know what, this is God's will. And until we're thoroughly meat tenderized, we're going to keep suffering. Both of those are wrong. Both of those are false concepts based upon paradigms that have big gaping holes in them. In Cracking the Code to Your Belief Safe, we'll look at that. But we will look at it in a most beautiful, judicious way, without judgment. We're just going to put the eye of truth upon it and weigh it and look at it and compare it to principles and to the way the divine actually functions and how we are co-creators. And as co-creators with consciousness amnesia, which we talked about in book 1, we've been creating blindly. And look at the outcome. We've always had a 50-50 chance of creating that which resonates with our creator, but we also had a 50-50 chance of creating that which has nothing to do with the creator. God has never, ever, ever, our creator has ever, never, never, ever created pain, sorrow, suffering, disease, traumas, none of it. All of this has been created by us, which we talked about in the Big If in Life, drunk, intoxicated on life, and still creating, but not knowing we're creating. And therefore, we don't understand what's going on, and we make things up. Well, we say, well, God, that's God punishing me, or that's God wanting me to wake up. No, these are ourself needing to wake up. And cracking the code to your belief safe will help you sit down and explore how the current paradigm surely has failed us, and how we are ready to go on and accept a new paradigm, and how we want to think about the new paradigm, and how it has the power to change what's been created and bring it back into resonance with the divine. It's all about restoring harmonic resonance and doing it in a very concrete way that our higher self, which is our direct connection to the divine, will show us how to do it. We have to use the free will. We talked about that in the book of It, the big if in life, free will. Free will got us in trouble. Free will will get us out of trouble. But we have to understand how it relates to being a co-creator being. You'll find cracking the code to your belief safe right on target. A real bullseye for you to get to the bottom line that you've been really searching and wondering, how do we end this crazy mess? Well, it's not going to be nearly as hard as you thought, and we can do it with a lot more ease, but we have to do it God's way. We can't make God bend to our will, but we can get in resonance and in harmony with the flow of our Creator. And when we do, we're going to discover we've been talking around it, but we've been missing the point. We've been on the target, off the target, on the target, but we rarely hit the bullseye. We're going to get to the bullseye. You deserve to know the bullseye. I deserve to know the bullseye. Everybody deserves to know the bullseye. There is nobody who does not deserve to get in touch and know the bullseye.
So Sharon, what's in volume 3 then?
Well, volume 3 is called Co-Creating Your Spirit Rehab and Inner Presence Resonance. So it's your spirit rehab and renaissance. Okay? Renaissance means you are researching and bringing yourself back to the divine being that you are as a co-creator who is aware and no longer blind. You will understand that you have always been a co-creator and how important it is to heal your amnesia. Now you need tools to do that. Those tools are very specifically discussed in Creating Your Spirit Rehab and Renaissance. You see, what's cool and really amazing about the self-gnosis paradigm is it's not a worship paradigm, because that keeps God at a distance. That keeps our Creator there, us here, and somehow sniveling in less. The truth of the matter is we are all equally a facet of the divine, an aspect of the divine, and we just need to use our intelligence. Self-gnosis is a pure intelligence. Use our head and align with our free will to the divine intention. The entire track of self-gnosis was evolved and put into place by God himself, by my higher self showing me how to do it for myself, and said, now just this track is replicatable. Everybody has a higher self. Everybody has the same connection to the Creator. The same power works for everybody. Teach them how to use the tools that we have honed and refined through you. They work for you, Sharon. You were in a real bad space, worse than a lot of people on this planet. And in a way, you were a great divine guinea pig, because what worked for you will work for others. You are the walking proof it will work for others. Now let's teach it and see who will choose to come to this, so that they too can have their renaissance. Renaissance, you're rising from the ashes of all the errors that you have made. Come back into your holy resonance. You know, on the temple of the oracle of Delphi is inscribed the words, know thyself. With self-gnosis, we come full circle, and the next sentence under it is, creating your holy resonance. So here now, get it in volumes 2 and 3.